I never thought I'd be the woman panicking about being single. I've always had options, always been told I'm intimidating in a good way, always knew what I wanted. Tonight, though, Marcus ended things. 3 months of dating. I thought we were building something real. Then he just pulled the plug over text, different life goals, and not seeing it long term. We'd been at his place 2 nights ago. I brought up kids, how I'd raise them someday. No forced gender roles, emotional intelligence over discipline, letting them explore their identity freely. He got this look. Didn't argue, just went quiet. Changed the subject to something about work, but the energy had shifted. The rest of the night felt strained, like we were both pretending everything was fine. The text came this morning, clean, polite, final. Now I'm on my couch, wine glass in hand, watching his Instagram story. He's already at a bar with friends, laughing, looks completely fine, like the last 3 months meant nothing. My algorithm has other plans for me. Video after video, what men actually want in 2025, why modern women struggle to find husbands, red flags that make men run. I'm hate watching, rolling my eyes at the thumbnails when one stops me cold. 10 traits men avoiding a wife. The thumbnail shows a checklist. The view count is in the millions. Comments are brutal. Thousands of men agreeing, sharing their own experiences, talking about dodging bullets. I click it. The article isn't some incel rant. It's calm. Matter of fact, clinical almost. Each trait has clear explanation, real-world examples. I read the first 3. Lack of domestic interest or skills, combative communication style, high body count without pair bonding ability. My chest tightens. I close the tab, drain my wine glass, tell myself it's garbage. Manosphere designed to make women feel bad about having standards, but I can't shake it. I reopen the tab, read 3 more traits, close it again. It sits in my browser history like a splinter I can't quite reach. I couldn't shake the article for 3 days. It lived in my browser history in the back of my mind. I'd open it, read 1 or 2 traits, close it defensively. But worse, I kept replaying recent dates through this new lens. The parenting conversation with Marcus 6 weeks ago, we were at brunch, this place in Logan Square. He liked bottomless mimosas. Good vibes. He asked about kids if I wanted them someday. I launched into my philosophy. No forced gender norms, gentle parenting, emotional validation over punishment. I'd never be one of those moms who breaks a kid's spirit with arbitrary rules, I said, thinking he'd appreciate how thoughtful I was about it. He asked what I'd do if a kid was hitting other kids at daycare. I'd explore why they felt the need to hit, address the root emotion. Kids act out when they're not heard. But what's the immediate consequence? He pressed. I got defensive. Consequences are just power trips. Kids need understanding, not punishment. That's how you raise emotionally intelligent humans. He nodded slowly, took a long sip of his mimosa. Changed the subject. 2 brunches later, I noticed he'd stopped asking about the future entirely. Stopped mentioning his sister's kids. Stopped talking about the neighborhood he wanted to settle down in someday. Then there was Ryan 4 months ago. 3rd date, wine bar in West Loop. Conversation got flirty, turned to past relationships. He mentioned he'd had 3 serious girlfriends, 1 in college, 2 after. Asked about my longest relationship. 2 years, I said back in my mid-20s. He seemed impressed I'd been independent so long. Then conversation drifted to hookup culture, dating apps, the modern landscape. I laughed, said I'd had my fun in my 20s and didn't believe in retroactive jealousy, that secure men don't care about numbers. He asked what mine was. Does it matter? I deflected, smiling, just curious. Probably 20s, maybe more. I didn't keep count because it wasn't meaningful. Just exploration, figuring out what I wanted. His face did this thing. Not judgment exactly, but recalculation. Like watching someone do mental math and not liking the result. He looked down at his wine glass, swirled it, took a long drink. The energy shifted. He was polite the rest of the night, but distant. Texted less after that. Faded completely within 2 weeks. I told myself he was insecure. Couldn't handle the woman who owned her sexuality. Now sitting on my couch with the article pulled up again. That moment felt different. Then there was the family dinner with Marcus. The one that might have sealed it. I'd invited him to Sunday dinner at my parents' house in the suburbs. Big mistake. My dad started talking politics at the table. Traditional marriage roles. How my mom managed the home while he built his career. How that partnership worked for them. how they'd raised us with clear structure. I couldn't help myself. Started debating him, pointing out how limiting that framework was for women, how it was basically unpaid labor disguised as partnership, how women deserved more than being household managers. Nangted, how mom could have had her own career if she hadn't been trapped in that dynamic. My mom got quiet, looked down at her plate. My dad tried to respond, but I talked over him, pressing my points harder. Marcus watched the whole thing, said maybe 3 words the entire dinner, complimented my mom's pot roast, asked my dad one question about his work, then went silent. In the car afterward, he was distant. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing. Just you were pretty harsh with your dad back there. He has outdated views. Someone needs to challenge them." Marcus just nodded. Didn't argue. But something shifted between us after that night. He started being less available, suggested fewer future plans. Now alone with my wine and my laptop. I'm seeing the pattern. The article's traits keep mapping onto my behavior. Inability to be agreeable or cooperative. Past promiscuity indicating lack of pair bonding. Disrespect toward male authority figures. But I keep arguing with myself. These men were insecure. They wanted a doormat. They couldn't handle a woman with opinions and experience, except the same pattern keeps happening. Different men, different situations, same result. I'm starting to feel something I haven't felt in years. Doubt. Not about my values exactly, but about whether my values are actually working for me. Whether being right matters if I'm alone. My phone buzzes. Text from my brother Jake. Landing at O'Hare in an hour. Still cool if I crash this weekend. I'd forgotten he was coming. Yeah, see you soon. I type back. I close the article again, pour more wine. Maybe talking to Jake will help. Or maybe I'll just get drunk and forget about all of this. Jake showed up Friday evening with his overnight bag, and that settled life energy radiating off him. He's 31, 3 years younger than me, married to Emma for 2 years now. They just bought a house in Oak Park, one of those renovated bungalows with a yard for the dog they just adopted. Seeing him walk into my apartment, which suddenly felt smaller and messier with him there, made something twist in my chest. He used to be the messy one. The one I had to look after when mom got sick that year. The one who couldn't get his together. Who I'd lecture about responsibility. Now he's the one with the mortgage and the healthy relationship. And I'm spiraling over breakup text. We ordered Thai food, opened wine. He asked about Marcus. I gave the sanitized version. Just didn't work out. He wasn't ready for something serious. Jake gave me this look. The same look he's been giving me since we were kids when he knows I'm bullshitting. Maya, come on. You've been saying that about guys for 5 years now. He wasn't ready. He couldn't handle a strong woman. He was intimidated. Maybe. Maybe what? I cut him off, hearing the edge in my voice. He hesitated, took a drink of his beer. Maybe it's not them. My face heated up. So you're saying it's my fault I'm single? I'm saying there's a common denominator here. And it's not that every guy in Chicago is secretly terrified of successful women. I launched into my defense, the one I'd perfected over years of these conversations. Men are intimidated by successful women. They want someone submissive who will make them feel big. They're threatened by independence. They can't handle that. I don't need them financially or emotionally. They want the benefits of a modern woman, the income, the sex, the interesting conversations, but they also want someone who will cook and clean and defer to them. It's impossible standards. Jake listened, nodding, but I could see disagreement all over his face. You done? He asked when I paused for breath. What? You want my actual opinion, or you want me to tell you what you want to hear? That stopped me because part of me did just want agreement, wanted him to validate my narrative, tell me I was right, and everyone else was wrong. But another part, the part that had been sitting with that article for 3 days, needed to hear the truth. Actual opinion, I said quietly. He pulled out his phone. Show me that article you mentioned, the 10 traits thing. My stomach dropped. I'd mentioned it earlier, casually trying to mock it. Didn't think he'd actually want to read it. Jake, it's just manosphere. Designed to then, why has it been bothering you for 3 days? He knew me too well. I pulled it up on my phone with shaking hands, handed it to him, watched his face as he scrolled through it. He wasn't smirking or nodding smugly. He looked sad, almost like he was reading a diagnosis for something serious. The apartment felt too quiet. Just the hum of my fridge and the distant sound of traffic outside. Okay, he said finally. You want to go through these? You think these apply to me? My voice came out flat. Maya, he said, his beard down met my eyes. I love you. You're my sister. I want you to be happy. But yeah, I think we should talk about this. I poured more wine. My hand was shaking slightly. Go ahead then. Jake pulled the article up on his phone, started reading the traits out loud. Trait 1, lack of domestic interest or skills. He looked up. When's the last time you cooked an actual meal? Not takeout, not meal prep delivery. Actually cooked. I cook, I said defensively. Microwave doesn't count. Emma told me you said cooking was performing femininity for the male gaze at our wedding. I had said that drunk at their reception when Emma mentioned taking a couple's cooking class. I'd laughed, said I wasn't going to play housewife just to validate someone's fantasy. I have a career, Jake. I don't have time to make stink. It's not about time. It's about whether you'd even want to. Like if you had a family, would you make dinner? Would you care about creating a home? Or is that all beneath you? I wanted to argue, but the Marcus brunch flashed back. How I'd scoffed when he mentioned his mom's Sunday dinners, said I didn't see myself playing housewife. Trait 2, combative communication style. Jake didn't wait for me to respond. You argue about everything. You can't just let things go. Remember when Marcus came for dinner? Dad was being sexist. Dad was talking about his own marriage. You made it a debate. Talked over him for 40 minutes. Marcus watched you steamroll, Dad. And you know what he was thinking? That's how she'll treat me when we disagree. That landed hard. I'd seen Marcus get quiet after that dinner. I'd told myself he was just tired. Trait 3, high body count or casual dating history. Jake looked uncomfortable. I don't want details, but you've talked openly about your 20s, about not being tied down. You've told guys you don't think numbers matter, right? Because they don't. That's just insecurity, yeah. He cut me off gently. You can believe that, but most men who want wives, they do care. You can call it insecurity or whatever, but it's reality. And when you tell them numbers don't matter, what they hear is, I don't pair bond the same way anymore. Ryan's face flashed back, that recalculation moment. How the conversation never recovered after that. Trait 4, career obsession over family willingness. I have a good job. I said that's bad now. It's not the job. It's the attitude. You've said multiple times you'd never sacrifice your career for a relationship, that you're building your brand. Guys hear that and think there's no room for them in your life, that if it came down to choosing, you'd choose work every time. Trait 5, inability to be agreeable or cooperative. Jake's voice was getting softer, which somehow made it worse. There's a difference between being a doormat and constantly needing to be right. You turn everything into a debate. Every small thing becomes a battle. Emma and I disagree all the time, but she picks her battles. There's no battle you won't fight. So I should just be agreeable and weak. There's a middle ground. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Trait 6, masculine energy, competitive nature. You compete with the guys you date. Need to out-earn them, out-argue them, prove you're smarter. There's no softness, no vulnerability, no room for them to feel needed. So, I should pretend to be helpless. No, but Emma's not helpless. She's just feminine. She lets me lead sometimes. She doesn't need to dominate every single interaction. There's a balance. Trait 7, poor relationship with father or male authority figures. This one hit different. I have a fine relationship with Dad, I said, but it sounded weak even to me. You openly disrespect him, mock his opinions. You rolled your eyes through his entire toast at my wedding. Guys see that and think about their own fathers. They think about how you'll treat them in 20 years. If you can't respect your own dad, why would they think you'd respect them? Trait 8, social media oversharing or man-bashing. Jake pulled up my Instagram, showed me my own feed, posts from the last 6 months, rants about toxic masculinity, memes about weaponized incompetence, that viral tweet I'd shared. If he wanted to, he would. Posts about my standards, about not settling, about how I'm the prize. Every guy you date can see this. They see you painting men as the enemy. Why would they sign up to be your husband when you're broadcasting that you don't even like men? Trait 9, unrealistic standards while bringing equivalent value. What's that supposed to mean? But I knew exactly what it meant. You want a guy who's 6'6 plus, makes six figures, is emotionally available, is a feminist ally, wants kids, but will do equal parenting, supports your career. Maya, what are you bringing that's equivalent? You don't cook. You're not agreeable. You don't want to compromise. You've made it clear family comes second to work. You criticize traditional gender roles, but want traditional male provider qualities. You can't have it both ways, so I'm not good enough. That's what you're saying. I'm saying the math doesn't work. High value men want high value wives. What are you offering them except a list of demands and a history of failed relationships? Trait 10, lack of accountability or victim mentality. Jake set his phone down, looked at me directly. This whole conversation, you've argued every single point. Blamed men, blamed society, blamed insecurity. When do you look at yourself? The room went silent except for the hum of my refrigerator. I was gripping my wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. You're saying I'm the problem. I'm saying you might have some blind spots, big ones. And if you don't address them, you're going to be 40 and single and still blaming everyone else, still wondering why it's not working. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the Chicago skyline. I want you to be happy, Maya, but you're not going to find happiness if you can't be honest with yourself. I couldn't speak, couldn't argue. Every defense I'd built over the years felt paper thin. Jake turned back to me. I'm going to bed. We can talk more tomorrow if you want. He headed to the guest room, left me alone with my wine and the truth. Jake left Saturday morning, hugged me, told me he loved me, said everything came from wanting me to be happy. I nodded, numb, closed the door behind him. Spent the day trying to distract myself. Cleaned my apartment for the first time in weeks. Actually cleaned, not just surface tidying. Went to the gym. Pushed through an angry workout on the elliptical while watching other women with wedding rings. Ran errands. I didn't need to run. But by evening, I was back on my couch with the article pulled up on my laptop. The sky outside was turning that deep purple-orange. The city lights starting to flicker on. My apartment felt too quiet. I went through the 10 traits honestly this time. No defending, no rationalizing, just checking boxes in my head. Lack of domestic interest? Check. Couldn't remember the last real meal I'd cooked for someone. My kitchen was pristine because I never used it. Combative communication? Check. Even my friends had started avoiding certain topics with me. I'd noticed them exchanging glances when I got going on something. High body count? Check. I'd stopped counting after 25. And that was 5 years ago. How many since then? 10 more? 15. Career over family? Check. I'd canceled dates for work events that weren't even mandatory. Had turned down a second date because it conflicted with a networking happy hour. Inability to be agreeable. Check. Jake was right. Everything was a battle, even things that didn't matter. Last week, I'd argued with a barista about almond milk. Masculine energy. Check. I'd been told I was intimidating and took it as a compliment. Never once thought maybe that was a problem. Never once tried to be softer. Poor relationship with father. Check. I'd spent the last decade criticizing everything he represented instead of trying to understand him. Couldn't remember the last time I'd called him just to talk. Social media man bashing. Check. My Instagram was basically evidence in a case against me. A highlight reel of why no man should date me. Unrealistic standards without equivalent value. Check. I wanted everything while offering what exactly? What was I bringing to the table besides demands and baggage? Lack of accountability. Check. Every failed relationship had been someone else's fault. Never mine. I was always the victim, never the problem. 8 out of 10. Maybe 9. Maybe all 10 if I was really honest. I sat there as the sun set completely, my apartment getting dark, the laptop screen the only light. 34 years old. I'd spent a decade building a career, building an identity, building this version of myself that was supposed to be empowered and independent. And I was alone. Not alone like choosing to be single. Alone. Alone like no one's choosing me. Alone. The panic hit different this time. Not about being single, about time running out. Emma was 8 weeks pregnant. She told us at dinner, glowing, hand on her still flat belly, Jake's hand covering hers, that look between them, the way they moved together like they shared the same rhythm. My friends' kids were starting kindergarten, posting first day of school photos while I was still navigating situationships and 3-month relationships that went nowhere. I opened Instagram, looked at my recent posts with fresh eyes. That rant about men being intimidated by success, that meme about the bar being in hell, that share about emotional labor and weaponized incompetence, that post about how I wasn't going to lower my standards for anyone. My finger hovered over the delete button. But then I thought, if I delete these, if I change everything, am I admitting I was wrong? Am I betraying myself? Isn't that what they want? For women to shrink themselves, make themselves smaller and more palatable. But if I don't change, where does this go? More Marcuses who fade after 3 months. More Ryans whose attraction dies the moment they know my history. More years of telling myself it's them, not me, while the calendar keeps moving and my options keep shrinking and my eggs keep aging. I closed Instagram, opened my text thread with Jake, started typing, "You were right," deleted it. Typed, "I don't know how to fix this," deleted it. Typed, "Was I always like this or did I become this?" Stared at it for a full minute. Sent it. 3 dots appeared immediately. "Then call me tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Love you." I put my phone down, looked around my apartment, the feminist quote prints on the walls. Nevertheless, she persisted. The future is female. Well-behaved women seldom make history. The takeout containers from the last week lined up on my counter. The silence that used to feel peaceful, but now just felt empty. I didn't know if I wanted to change because I actually believed I should, or just because I was scared of being alone forever. Didn't know if fixing myself meant betraying my values, or finally being honest about what they'd cost me. All I knew was that the article was right. Jake was right. And sitting here in the dark about to turn 35, watching everyone around me build families, while I built arguments about why I was better off alone, I finally had to admit it. The common denominator was me. I was the reason my relationships failed. I was the reason men pulled away. I was the reason I was sitting here alone on a Saturday night, drunk on wine and regret, counting traits like wounds. 8 out of 10. Maybe all 10 if I was really honest. I closed my laptop. The room went dark except for the city lights through my window. Tomorrow I'd call Jake. Maybe start figuring out what came next. But tonight, I just sat with it. The truth, the panic, the realization that I'd spent years building a version of myself that no one actually wanted to build a life with. And the terrifying question underneath it all. Was it too late to become someone different? Or was this just who I was now? If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.